Well, there's just one more format for us to discuss in this chapter on compatibility with CorelDRAW X4, and it's a very popular format at that. I'm talking about PDF, or Portable Document Format. It's a format that almost everybody out there is going to be able to at least view. When you publish your work here in CorelDRAW to PDF, those using a PC will be able to use Adobe Reader to view that work. Adobe Reader comes installed on most new PCs, and if it's not there, it's a free download from adobe.com. On the Macintosh, it's an application called Preview. Either way, people will be able to view your work. If you need to create a PDF file that other people can edit, there are some additional options to choose from here in CorelDRAW, and of course those people will need some additional software for editing PDFs. So we're going to use the same file we've been working with in the last couple of lessons, our $5 gift certificate here for the Green Onion Bistro. If you've skipped to this lesson, you haven't been following along, and you want to get caught up though, you can go to your Lesson 13 folder of the exercise files if you've got them, and open up Go5 Certificate 3.cdr. You'll have exactly what I have here on my screen. So in this case, we're going to kind of export the entire file to the PDF format. The only thing is, it's not found under Export. It's got its own option on the File menu. We'll go up to File and down to Publish to PDF. You'll see it right down here. Like I said, there are going to be a number of options for us to choose from. When we click this, we see a dialog box for Publish to PDF. I'm going to save it to my desktop. I'm going to keep the same name, Go5 Certificate 3, but the extension will change to a .pdf extension. Next, I can choose from some presets if I want. If I'm going to be exporting this to a PDF format so that people can post it on their website, well, the PDF preset down below that would be best for that would be the web. And this lowers file sizes. If there's graphics involved, the compression's a little bit higher, resolution lower. So it's going to take into consideration file size with this preset. If I go up to prepress, that's a little bit different. The file size is going to grow. This is for commercial printing. Maybe it's just to distribute the document for people to look at. Document distribution will lower the file size and set this up a little bit differently as well. If it's for editing, I'll choose editing. That'll give people access to the components of the file using a PDF editor. I've got some other formats down here using different color models like CMYK and RGB for archiving, PDFX-3 and 1A. I'm going to go right up here to document distribution. That's the most popular scenario. Now, if I'm happy with that, I just click the Save button, but you'll notice there is a Settings button here as well. Some additional settings, actually quite a few different settings, can be altered from this dialog box, Publish to PDF Settings. I've got tabs across the top for general settings, for the objects in my file, the document as a whole. There's some prepress options, security, advanced, and it looks like I've got one issue. So let's start over here on the right with the one issue. When I click on it, you can see the document contains small fonts. That could be an issue depending on the resolution or format I choose. For example, for the web, it might be very difficult to read some of those smaller fonts. So the details appear down below, smaller than 18 points. If your document's to be viewed with Reader, a minimum of 18 point type is recommended. Doesn't mean you have to, it's just recommended. So if I don't want people to worry about this, I could change the format of my fonts, or if it's not an issue, I could choose not to check for this issue in the future by clicking this checkbox. Now I've got no issues up here, and I can go over to the next tab to the left, Advanced. Here I can say optimize it for the web if, again, this is going to be viewed on the web. But all of the settings that you see here by default are for document distribution. Render complex fills as bitmaps, so if I'm using some of those fancy gradient fills and so on, they could be rendered as bitmaps. Lots of different options here for working with colors as well. ICC profiles, there's the color model being used, CMYK, for this particular option. Security is an issue with PDFs, of course, so if I wanted to add passwords to this, people won't be able to view them without an open password. And if they're going to be editing, they'll need permission. And you can see I've got the ability here to enter passwords for both opening as well as printing and editing down below. I'm going to turn both of those off. It's not an issue in this scenario. The prepress tab, again, if it's going to be printed commercially or professionally, there are things to consider like bleed limits. That's how far over the edge it's going to go. Ink does sometimes bleed. Crop marks can be added. I'm going to choose crop marks here just so you can see what that looks like. Registration marks can also be added, as well as the file information attached to it. I'm just going to use the crop marks and move over to my Document tab. If there are hyperlinks in here, notice there's a bookmark section here to include those. I don't have any hyperlinks or bookmarks, so I'm going to turn those off. Let's go up to the Objects tab. Here, if I've got graphics, which I do, the compression type is set to JPEG. Remember, it's for document distribution, so JPEG is an ideal format. And you can see the quality is set to very high here, or 10. And that can be altered using the slider, or if I wanted to, I could use the box and just highlight what I want to type in there, right over. There we go. It's set to 10. I'm going to move this all the way over, actually, to the left to 2. Very high. Bitmap downsampling, color, grayscale, and monochrome all being used. So if I'm downsampling a color graphic, you can see it's set to 200 dots per inch, grayscale 200, monochrome 600. Compressed text and line art is selected. If I deselect this, it'll increase my file size, but in my case where I've got smaller fonts and I don't compress them, it might make it a little bit easier for people to read. Could also export all text as curves, so it's not even text at all. It's actually an image or an object representing that text. Text and fonts, you can see using the ASCII set. Embedded fonts in the document, that's an option. So the fonts that are being used are embedded in this document. So if someone's editing this using their computer and they don't have those fonts, they'll actually be in the document. Nice feature. Embed base fonts, convert TrueType to Type 1 fonts. All of that's being done based on my selection here, document distribution. And we're all the way back to our General tab now, where you can see the export range is the current document, happens to be a one-pager. So this option and current page would be the exact same thing. Now, if I wanted to, I could select portions of this page and just export or publish those selected parts to PDF. Compatibility down below, you can see set to Adobe Acrobat 6.0. I can go as high as 8 or as far back as 4. And there's those other formats we saw from our presets. I'm going to leave it at 6. And the author, there's my name showing up just by default because that's stored in this computer. Any keywords I want to add to this, like green, onion, logo, all of those words will actually be used in search functionality if people are trying to locate this. And there's the PDF preset custom now because we made some changes. So I click OK. And now all I have to do is save using those custom settings. See how it's changed from document distribution to custom just because of a few clicks of a few checkboxes. So I'll click save. Just takes a second. Down below you'll see processing very quickly. It's done. And now on my desktop I know I've got my PDF version. Ready to email that out, put it on a network drive, copy it to a disk, however you want to share it. People are going to be able to view that PDF on pretty much any computer in any location.